to have the bigger slows. Kirsten's Deckard Cain, man, it is scary.
Dude, yeah, it definitely is. And it feels overall, Skimmy, that some of the fights there, especially the one that was highlighted here by Dread, just seem relentless from Method. They just push on, and as he mentioned, you know, the synergy is very on point here from them so far.
Well, that's it, and just really, I suppose, continuing your point, the fact that you have a healing reduction, that's a straight-out counter towards the Oriole, and that's where the idea of a Tassadar, a Zarya would come in, because the shield isn't going to be affected by that, so that gives you that bit of time, even a mid-D for another different pick, to give you some time to wait for that debuff to come by, and turn things around as it's Cursed Hollow.
Did I disappear?
You did.
Yeah?
Camouflage, what about me? Am I still here?
It's the Gecko.
That's right, that's right. They call me the chameleon.
I can't find the right hue. I'm off a little bit, boys.
So, Cursed Hollow is going to be our next map. What do you think of it?
I mean, this is already what we saw out from the members of Method, I believe, was the team who ended up getting that selection there from them against Dig. So it's one of their go-to maps from beginning to end. This is, this is them starting on Method's, you know, kind of home turf, if you will. So I can expect maybe some adjustments within the draft. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe a little bit more, you know, that Method playstyle, but I think by no means does Method feel stretched or forced in any way, shape, or form.
All right, game number 2, draft is ready. Method currently leads 1-0 here over Luna Meow. They've got some work to do.
Luna Meow has, in the last game, denied a lot of the globals from Method. Method have been playing a lot of the globals, and I would anticipate that we see globals in some capacity here, given that it's a big battleground. It kept Luna Meow in the game, which is what we see. When you have globals, it keeps you getting experience so that you have opportunities to fight, but they lost one of the fights. They were attacking before the globals were even into the fight now. I don't know if it plays to Luna Meow's playstyle. I don't really know if there's something else that they should be drafting, though. I just feel like they have been so comfort-focused, comfort-based, and they're not getting those comforts.
And one thing that's still kind of more prevalent on this map than almost any other is still that Hanzo that had a little bit of a nerf. We haven't seen it as much, but here it's still very powerful, right?
I mean, it's one of the maps with the most mercenaries that you can capture to a T, right? It's macro to a sense. It's just straight out in a Method style of play, as Dread already mentioned, and it's a map which, once again, punishes the minor region teams. They love those team fights. This map isn't really going to give you that in that regard. I just really wonder, as Gilly's already said, you know, are we going to see globals come out here from Luna Meow? Are they going to go, hey, let's just draft a team fight comp. Let's just try and see if anything can happen, because last game, you know, that jigsaw puzzle did not come to life. It did not work out, and we really want to give this one a run for its money.
But finally, Bowie gets Genji.
Thankfully.
This is the first time he's gotten Genji. He has not ever been able to get Maiev or Genji. They've been more prioritizing their Garrosh, which they unfortunately do lose. So there's the Garrosh and the Dahaka, which is exactly how the last draft went, just with the opposite teams.
Just with the reverse, yep. Nice.
At this point, it's going to be interesting. With the Bowie being able to pick up the Genji, do you keep going down the full comfort route? And the answer is a little bit of a mix-up here. A Murden Abathur. You know, I like it, but this is, again, catering towards the same thought process as the last game. How far out of your comfort do you go before it becomes, like, too big of a trade-off, right? I mean, objectively speaking, I love every kind of, you know, selection made on the side of Luna Meow. It just comes down to whether or not, you know, they're practiced enough. They are so comfort-based.
With this ban situation now, is Method in a great spot, because if they don't ban either Malfurion or Deckard, then the opponents have to ban one of them. If say, for example, they would want to try and limit something, but then Method just takes the other one.
I would say they would. I would say that Luna Meow want to ban away the Kayn. Personally, I feel like the Kayn's been a bit of an issue for them, and especially with that Pain Stick, the ability just to stun somebody out. If Genji's going to jump on in, if they're not going to go for a support that has Cleanse, for example, because Stukov was usually their go-to, then I feel like they're going to be in a lot of trouble where Genji jumps in, Genji just gets deleted.
Uther banned to take away a Divine Shield with the Genji. And while we might see a Tyrael for trying to still give the invulnerability, that'd be a lot into the Genji basket. And Virgil has been, except for Dahaka, way more likely to pick, well, and Sonya, I guess. I don't really consider Sonya a warrior, but more so on the melee assassins than going for any tanks.
I mean, double warrior support and an Abathur with a Genji, it sounds like crazy stuff, right? So, even though I love Holy Ground on this map, and it's actually my favorite thing in the world, but never mind.
I'm locked in on this Deckard Cain ban. I'm trying to think of what other things they would want to take away, unless you're just looking to try and isolate out different members. They decide Tychus in the end, however.
Out of those two, if we were to go to the support route, I still would have rather see the Malfurion over the Deckard. Deckard's good, but I mean, I still think he's got some room to show that he's going to be able to outtrade the Master of Malfurion. But I mean, that is not the route. They're just going to go ahead with the Tychus ban. A little bit curious there, but it's you know, something that's definitely been within the priority of Method in the past.
Well, Tychus is one of your more survivable ranged assassins, and if they're trying to all in with a Stormbolt double Genji, maybe that's the idea, is they want someone who can't Neo-Steel coding 75% spell reduction that, or just go into the Odin and get the extra armor. But Method is, they're so flexible and they play so many different things, and I think it's really hard to limit them on damage. Maybe we see a Li Ming here. They've been playing it quite a bit, both Nick and Schwimpy.
That or Hanzo, I feel like, has to come out within this rotation. Yeah, it's going to be the Hanzo and the Malfurion.
Yes.
And I do like, again, now I think that, you know, kind of even confirms on that thought process, which would be more valuable. You know, we see here from Method moving into the Malfurion. That's just at least on their ideology.
I mean, looking at the setup so far for Method, what even stops them from going down the Valera path later on?
Not really a whole lot. Other than, okay, let's... Before we get down too hyphy on the Valera train, like there are some things that are necessary. So within that, I mean, she is very, very effective, and I want to say it's not out of the realm of possibility. But generally speaking, she's going to want to focus on those tight kind of skirmishes on maps where you get that isolation. Curse Hollow isn't a map that it's not that you can't get those, but you have to adjust your playstyle a little bit too much. I would say it's possible, but I'm just letting everybody know at home, like, it doesn't mean that Valera is going to be anywhere and everywhere just because she was real good on that Sky Temple map.
She was also with Abathur and had
that does help.
But against Abathur, sneak into the base, except for, the structures give vision now. But maybe.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way.
Did you?
One day, yes, when it changed. Sonya and Rhaegar.
There's Virgil, and then the final support still getting in the burst to go with the deflect.
So only a little bit of variance when looking at Luna Meow, but Virgil's still on the comfort there. Bowie still's got his comfort coming up from him. And the adjustments are still objectively pretty successful. I will say, with the adjustment that we saw in last draft versus this one, I look at this and I go, Luna Meow has far higher probability of looking like a successful team than we saw in the last one.
Absolutely. This composition has a lot of synergy between all the different members. If you look at the 4 members that Abathur can potentially symbiote, they all just do excellent work with it, right? So Muradin becomes an assassin, Sonya's just going to be an absolute monster, Rhaegar with the hat can pounce on in and look to just trade out as support. So I feel like this is a lot more well-rounded for what they need, and it takes away the idea of let's go down the full macro route and just try and deny. Let's just go for a team fighting comp on not necessarily a team fighting map, but maybe based on Method going for the Hanzo, boss control is going to be a big factor for them. Luna Meow may be able to try and force a fight, an upset in that 5-man choke bot.
And what's funny is that's how Method were playing yesterday. Super skirmish trading, having the Abathur hat. So how does Method counter it with their one final person? They'll pick up a Thrall, melee heavy.
Yeah, I like the Thrall here personally. I feel like Earthquake is going to be the go-to. It just slows everything down. The tempo can go across. They can just reset it from there. And so, okay, let's just hang on. We chuck out the Dragon's Arrow, and then we turn the fight. I mean, it can even go either way. You don't have to prioritize one ultimate over the other, but it just gives you a lot of different CC abilities to dictate, do we fight? Do we want to start it on this term? And just in terms of boss control, once again, I just feel like they have so many different utility tools.
I mean, yeah, it's flexible, right? I mean, you mentioning Earthquake as being a good tool against, especially a composition that's looking to dive onto something, but even Sundering on a map like this can be very strong in those choke points.
Yeah, the only one concern, and again, I question whether or not the skill disparity is too severe for it to actually be a problem in this, would just be with the transition into the Thrall in that type of circumstance, you struggle to have early game pressure into an Abathur, and you're relying on winning those skirmishes, and when you look at the skirmish capability from beginning to end of the composition of Luna Meow, it trades pretty well. It's like, and so you're relying on that stall tactic with the Dahaka Soak to gain that early game advantage, usually doesn't work out on even par teams. That in mind, I do think it's going to be severe enough that the Thrall is not going to be a problem, and they'll win those skirmishes.
Yeah.
Time for predictions.
I agree with the rest of the panel. I do feel like Luna Meow's drafting is evolving. It's getting better with every game, but in this case, the skill disparity is still too high. It'll be Method who get the 2 wins.
Yeah, if these were different teams, I would have gone for Luna Meow's draft, but still Method, the experience, the ability for them to outperform, it has to be Method again.
Not much to add, Method. Smooth, clean, that's it.
There you go. Not much to add on my side either, to be honest with you. Look, I didn't even have to say it.
Put it up.
Thank you.
You nodded, they were like, yeah.
Yeah. That's 83% in the chat compared to the 17% here of Luna Meow. Again, they're going to have to step it up here if they want to be victorious against Method, who, I said at the beginning of the broadcast, it seems like the chains of expectations seem to have been let off them here at the moment here for the mid-season Brawl. Commentators, what do you think about the upcoming match?
Say the expectations are definitely let off a little bit, but they're starting to set new expectations with every win they pick up.
Yeah, I mean, Luna Meow, you can't really vote for him here. I think that Method is going to outclass him. The draft felt dated, and I'm looking at Method to take another quick win here.
All right, well, let's see if they can upset. Off to you guys.
Genji is the modern-day Illidan.
Yeah, you and I were talking about that as we were looking at the draft.
2015 draft.
Yeah, if you just switch Genji and Illidan, it's like, well, why did Illidan through the draft and then you first pick it and you do this whole rotation? We've seen it before. We've seen it so many times. And, I mean, let's see how this pans out. We're going to go ahead and introduce these teams before we jump into it to talk about it more. Starting off with Method with Arcaner on Garrosh, Athero on Dahaka, Schwimpy on Hanzo, Kurson on Malfurion, and Nick bringing up the Thrall.
On Thrall, not something I've seen too much of, but on the other side of the coin is going to be Luna Meow here on red, seeing if they can even this up. Bowie on the Genji, as the panel said, one of his go-to heroes. Garnet Devil will be on the Abathur, KT4 on Murden, Virgil on Sonya, and Kim rounding it out on Rhaegar.
Let's see if Bowie can redeem himself after the pretty weak Vala performance we saw in Game 1. Going to be really up to the supports here in a lot of ways, but Genji is a hero that requires a lot of individual skill. I really like Method's draft because they have global control, obviously, in terms of global soak. Falstad wins out, or sorry, not Falstad, excuse me. Dahaka usually wins out in terms of what he can do in terms of damage to structures while soaking. They have Hanzo, so I expect that if Method gets an early lead, they're going to go for a very quick boss because they have a crazy clear time for that. And Luna Meow is going to have to use Sonya to get smaller camps quicker. They're going to have to use the Abathur hat to try to get picks with Genji potentially. It's not going to be an easy game here.
You can see the Genji lurking around, but the problem is Method's starting to make their way up. You're looking at the talent, so we got basically blocked by both Murden and Sonya's version as well. And you think about it, Hanzo, incredibly slow auto attacks. Thrall, 0.91, slower than your standard. There's not a lot of fast auto attacks on the side of Method, so in these fights, yes, there's going to be a lot of spell damage. Yes, the scatter arrow build as well as the chain lightning there by Thrall, but potentially effective in these fights is we'll see how they unfold later in the game.
Do you think it's going to be Sundering or do you think it's going to be Earthquake? Because there's a lot of, you know, Sundering can help you lock down a Genji and get that kill, lock down the clone as well, post 10, and you have the ability to, you know, just blow up a fight because you've got all these combos you can unlock with Hanzo's arrow. But at the same time, Earthquake feels like a great way to really limit the power of this tanky front line with the Sonya and Murden. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the Earthquake definitely sounds good against that style of composition. We saw a similar draft from Tempo Storm, albeit a very different map and a very different composition, but nonetheless, it was to deal with something like that. So having the Thrall as that third melee, he can give a little bit of poke with that chain lightning, but as you said, when it does come to that aggression, that assault, Earthquake is really hard to play into.
Yeah, it's very difficult. You know, you can kind of glide your way over it with the Genji. This was pinged earlier, and they're going to go ahead and go for Schwimpy, but he has that ability to jump over the wall there. Gets out, tosses in the Sonic Arrow just to confirm. Athero wanted to come in there, but he's just going to come and clear this. They've got Sonya, you know, in the top lane to deal with up there. Garrosh is babysitting that at the moment, but this doesn't end up being too impactful. Good escape there by Schwimpy, but also a really cool play by Luna Meow. Very clearly planned, very much pinged and communicated.
I really liked it. I mean, the fact that they're willing to be the aggressor in this composition, understanding their opportunities, they have a good eye on the rest of the map. Arcaner's got to be careful. He's going to eat the Stormbolt. Nice lockdown there, but not enough damage for the kill just yet. And that's kind of where this composition will struggle a little bit. Sonya and Genji are strong objectively early, but it's when that clone comes in where it's really going to shine.
Nick has his own self-sustain here too, plus Malfurion, so it's just so difficult to kill him. KT4 already taking so much damage. Great stun there coming through from Arcaner, and Abathur just not able to make a big impact with the hats here to turn this fight. Dahaka's still soaking bottom the whole time, so never really forcing anything to be used here. So Athero's not losing out to the soak to the Abathur because he's still in that lane. They get the fast rotation down to mid. And we talked about how the smaller camp rotations can be pretty quick when you have a Sonya, you have a Rhaegar, in this case Genji, just kind of helping out here. But this is pretty predictable. Arcaner scouts it out. Doesn't have any backup just yet to contest, but it feels like Method has full control over the map right now. They had their first scary moment with that rotation coming through, but with the sustain they have, they dealt with it very well. Oh,
Gonna
boy.
be a little bit of a combo. Not a whole lot of lockdown beyond that. You'll have a root from Nick, but just way too hard to kill a Sonya early game. Another thing to keep in mind in these team fights, instead of the self-sustain, we now have Ancestral Wrath for Thrall, so more self-sustain, but also Malfurion, who, by the way, heals when he hits people with Moonfire, and that's a lot of melee potentially coming at you between the Rhaegar, Sonya, and Murden. So if they're grouped up, we saw some big heals come in there for Curson on that Malfurion. So if you're going to get that kill, you're going to get that blow up, it's got to come fast and heavy if you're on the side of Luna Meow.
Yeah, that's very true. I think this mule is really just a symptom of the problem that Luna Meow is facing. There's no pressure on Athero whatsoever this game. He's able to constantly soak. And because Nick is playing the Thrall, you kind of have two soul laners. So you have a lot of extra soak coming through, a lot of extra pushing for Method. And when Abathur's using Mule here, and you know no resources are going to be committed, that's when you can commit a 3-man rotation down here. You could kill this wall. You're pushing further towards 10. You give up the Tribute, which is a small loss, but you gain something greater. You gain that ability to get 10 first because they're pushing that experience lead now very far. And, you know, on this map, when you hit 10 first and you've got a Hanzo composition, it's so easy to quick boss and even try to force a double boss. So I like what Method is doing here. They're even happy to trade right now because Thrall can easily hold his own in the top lane.
You bring up an excellent point. This trade does seem like it should be something that would work in your favor. Nick, he's holding ground. Bowie, he's under assault. He's starting to take the fort shots. That did not work out. Now this is the part where taking down this fort is very important. Killing the mule, minimum. You don't have to fully clear this, but they now have the opportunity or potentially get a kill. But now we're looking at getting into boss territory because the next tribute, obviously here on the bottom left, but we're talking about level 10. We're talking about the threat. Keep the global of Dahaka maybe in the top for the next one. This is time the boss around that, and we could be looking at early keep here for Method.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is the nightmare situation that you face on this map when you get behind early, which is why one of the reasons why it's actually now heavily banned in Korea, because it gets snowballed so crazily. Because now we're looking at boss plus curse point. That leads into the next tribute, where they have to defend the boss. They don't have 10. And I really, really like the choice to go boss here for Luna Meow, because otherwise you get double boss under curse. They have to take this boss. They have no other choice. I like that Rhaegar is also going to split off and grab that camp, because that's going to help relieve this boss pressure a little bit, which, as you say, goes directly to keep. Yeah. What happens now is Luna Meow at least has that defensive tribute. It is red side.
They're very lucky with that, by the way.
that's their saving grace here, because without that, I mean, this game could end very, very quickly.
Arcaner maybe overstepping his bounds just a little bit. 10 dangerously close here for Luna Meow. But the spawning of this tribute, had it been in any other location, I feel that this would be far more threatening for Method. That bottom boss will do some early damage, but the Siege Giants picked up on both teams. That snowball potential has now been temporarily neutralized, and if this is Luna Meow's chance to get back into this game, they now have Clone available. We'll see what they can do with it.
All right, Garnet Devil dashing in. Swimpy is the target here. Bowie's going to come in as well. Earthquake committed here. Such a great heroic choice. You can see how difficult it is for Luna Meow to commit now, and that's going to be the kill there onto Bowie. Great arrow here, gets the double stun. It's going to be so hard to retreat now. Thero gets tossed in, does miss here with the isolation, but it's not going to matter at the end of the day. They're going to grab Curse. The boss still isn't dealt with. Abathur not really able to do too much down there, and they're just going to commit mid now. The boss did eliminate most of that bottom keep wall. And sure, top boss got the fort, but this is such a huge win for Method now. They're going to get so much experience from this. And if they get another pick here, potentially a keep.
I think right now it's going to be a little difficult. Dahaka has gone back. Curson has got the Tranquility out, but he is still really low. The Dragon Blade is going to confirm one kill. Now we're looking at more. Nick is dead. And now all of a sudden, no Dahaka. He's forced to use that global. He wanted to be soaking this whole time. And now Method has overstepped by quite a bit. Virgil coming in for the flank. Arcaner's like, look, you guys run. I'm going to sacrifice myself. Virgil's like, that's cool. Maybe I can get some more.
Now, you tried to get another one there. It's not going to happen. But I think there's some cracks showing here in Method's game plan. They went past mid-fort, which they knew was going to die. They wanted to get a pick on their way to grab that keep because they knew the wall's already damaged from the boss. And I think they just got a little bit overzealous in their approach, and they were punished there. Dragon Blade was still up, so that just did too much damage there. They were outnumbered. Curse wears off. Pretty lucky, pretty fortunate, I should say, not lucky, that for Method, they don't have to deal with Curse Point now for Luna Meow. This is the closest this game has been. Had Luna Meow been at 2 of 3, there would have been potentially a stronger curse coming out. Luna Meow is not going to get back into the game off of this play, but they do, you know, keep the game a little bit more even. They're significantly behind still, but that was their first big step to maybe starting that comeback.
I think the silver lining, to further your point, is that they did not give up any significant damage in that bot lane. We've got a clone. They're looking for a fight. Genji, there's number 1. Swift strike in, using the tranquility to survive during this for now. Garnet Devil is about to fall on that clone. Dragon Arrow's going to lock in.
Okay, here comes the Earthquake, and already Bowie is dead. Garnet Devil did a lot with that clone. It lived forever because Method mostly ignored it, used the CC on the real Genji, which can be quite chaotic in these fights. The Earthquake just really makes it so difficult to use this heavy melee comp for Luna Meow. And now with this push, with the Night Camp straight towards mid, they're going to get another keep wall here. And finally, that very important 13 talent is available here for Kirsten, who's been the target of these clones. He now has Ice Block, and they're looking for a pick. They at least get the Avatar here.
They do, but the Ancestral's going to land just in time. Isolation, everything used onto that Murd, and no 13, so no healing static. And now Genji's coming in again. Dragon Blade going out, trying to slice and dice his way to get a takedown, but Kirsten keeping everybody alive on that Malfurion, and Bowie somehow lives here.
Arcaner taking a lot of damage, but is healing very well. Drops down the top. They want to commit here, but there's a lot of sustain on the side of Luna Meow here. KT4 finally blown up here, and this looks like the end of the fight, potentially the end of this game if things go even worse. Virgil just using that whirlwind to survive, but Bowie needs to get out. He survived earlier. And had this Mule not been healing this keep the entire time, we might see potentially a second keep going down here. It's going to be the first one at least. They commit to this. We still have early death timers. This is not a game-ending move by any means, but this really opens up the game, so to speak, for Method, because now they have total control of the catapults in mid. Boss should be coming up very soon, and there's no way Luna Meow can contest this tribute.
KT4 was in such an awkward position because as a tank, he was right in the middle. He got tongued, he got tossed, he got dipped in every single imaginable way. They picked up 13. He had the healing static. He pressed his W coming out of that, trying to survive. But everybody on Method had gotten out of that circle, so it did not trigger that second one. And it has to hit a hero to trigger that, thus to get that. But we got a Dragon Arrow. We got another fight coming.
Big stun coming through here. Unfortunately, this time it's Rhaegar who gets caught, so no heals coming through. Ancestral wasn't available. Earthquake makes it so difficult to follow up. You can see the front line here really struggling to get in. Bowie's already dead. KT4 going to be the next to fall, and this is just going to be the full wipe. The obsession of Abathur. He killed the clone, so feels like a wipe there. They're going to grab this boss. And they've got 2 choices. They could either push for the keep and maybe more. With this boss, they could double boss. There is a top fort in the way. So it depends on how greedy Method wants to be with this. There's not a lot of death timers, or not a lot of time on those death timers. We're still only 12 minutes into the game. Grabbing a second keep feels juicier than grabbing experience at this point when you're already 2 levels up. You've got the talent to your advantage. So they're going to go for that keep rather than going for the double boss.
Yeah, I think right now, if they get that 1 pick, they get that 1 initiation, they will end the game. You get 1 kill here, and it will spiral out of control. There's not a lot of wave clear. There's not a lot of range damage here for Luna Meow, so it is difficult. There's going to be the tongue. There's going to be the drag cleanse is used, but Ancestral out already as well.
Yeah, very good Ancestral here, keeping KT4 alive, but it's used early in the fight, so a tool they don't have anymore. The boss is basically untouched here. Great burrow by a throw. He's going to live through this. Now he can do a lot of peeling. KT4 deep onto Kirsten, but he's just getting chunked down by Swimpy, who turns his attention to Bowie. KT4 can now be ignored. Double stun coming through here now, and Virgil is in a lot of trouble. Very, very low. He will go down in just a moment as Swimpy gets on top of him. Garnet Devil doing what he can. KT4 trying to bring Nick back. He does pull him back, but the boss still over half health. And I think those picks you were talking about, they came through. This could be the push to end the game.
And Nick's just going to chill out, keep Murden around, and the boss is now going to approach the core. Shield's already starting to fall. We see Rhaegar being run off. Kem not able to defend here. All smiles there for that of Method as they're going to take a 2-0 in this series, so things working out really well for them. We end the game 18-14, 13 kills to 3. If you are Method, you have got to be feeling good over these first few days.
I feel like when we got to see Bowie on his comfort pick, the Genji, they did look a little bit better, but overall this is just an outclassing in every way. Macro, mechanics, team fighting, just understanding how to draft. Method is the better team, And as I said going into this was kind of a day for Method to take those 2 extra points. They're in a great position in the group. They can now, go back to the hotel, rest, do some more scrims, get ready for future group days. And I don't think Luna Meow should be too sad about this. They might have been had Method not done so well yesterday, but how well they played yesterday, I think going to this, they knew they were going to be the underdogs. They knew it was going to be a tough series. And, they played their style, just wasn't good enough.
I will say their draft in game number 2 was much more promising. Obviously, some of those fights, they're hard to pull off. So it was a little bit difficult. I think that they'll definitely bounce back from this, but Method, again, looking good. Speaking of looking good, we've got a panel somewhere led by Lil Ginger, a.k.a. Caleris.
That we do, yes, as of course their Method being able to take that win. Strong things for them to be seen. Very good mastery, I feel like, of the game overall, even despite a few moments there where they had some slip-ups.
Yeah, and it hits one of those moments, too, where after the first game and how it went down and the confidence I feel like Method should have, you got to be asking, like, are they comfortable taking a risk where they go, we might actually lose this a little bit more, here and there in that type of situation. But there were a couple moments where I think it was very much blatantly, this is, the members of Luna Meow trying to get that punishment. And as Wolf said, a lot of it seemed to be, with Bowie onto the Genji, which we knew that's his go-to and always has been.
I just think in general that style of draft is going to suit this team way more. Maybe not the Abathur as we were talking about Caleris, but just in general being able to keep fighting and brawling, because that seemed to be where they felt they looked most comfortable.
Yep.
They were able to get some kills there. They even did some cool things, like when they knew the mule was trying to keep the keep alive, they attacked before the keep went down and trying to push them back to get the healing of the keep behind it. So a lot of good things from that. It makes me hopeful from Luna Meow that they're starting to say, we need to stop trying to counter other people's draft and just play to our own strengths.
Yeah, I mean, you've been sat in that chair for about 10 minutes, ready and ready.
Oh,
to
absolutely,
go.
I have. No, absolutely have. I was actually upstairs with the players, sort of getting their thoughts about everything as well. But I would say basically just draft for or just actually first of all get a team fighting map and then just play to your strengths. Remove the Abathur, just don't play globals in my opinion, and just go full 5-man dive comp, almost a little bit China-esque. And just look for kills. I mean, they find free. It's more than ANZ are able to achieve, so that's already one up for the minor regions.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's right. That's right. What were some of the key points in that game, Dread?
I mean, when it comes to the breakdown here that we have in this replay, I want to go ahead and stop the replay right here and just take a minute and look at the map and what we have going on. So a tribute is going to be spawning in the 1 second there, as you see on the right-hand side. And the biggest thing to keep track here is when you think of an Abathur composition on Cursed Hollow, you don't want them to be able to set up. And there's no talent to your advantage as we're sitting at 15 into 13. Yes, there is a statistical advantage, but not that major spike with the 16. So in order to avoid that, the members of Method, as we move forward, are going to find Kim out of position and not waste any time. It is going to be a Dragon's Arrow setup into an immediate one-shot, flip over from the into the fray, and it's very well done. But not only did they avoid the setup of the Abathur around the tribute like you would normally like to see in this type of situation, I now want to take a moment to hit pause once more. Now, the only remaining recovery moment within this team fight for the members of Luna Meow when losing this, Rhaegar, is going to be if somehow the Genji clone can set everything up for a real Genji to come in and clean shop afterwards. So Bowie actually finds himself isolating while we see the clone is very much going to be diving in. Curson drops the Tranquility. It's going to stop any of that damage done. And then conveniently enough, a Thero Angel is going to pop up here in a matter of seconds as we roll in and just nope out of this situation. Isolation, drag, give him a fatty slap, and that is the end of the fight. No chance at that. That was a clean just dismantling of all win condition opportunities of this composition by Method.
Give him a what?
A fatty slap.
A
I like that
fatty
word.
slap,
I
man.
like
Fatty
that terminology.
slap.
I thought I
Thank
had some
you.
weird words, but I'm stealing that one.
All right.
It sounds very
Honestly,
ADNC,
It feels like a salmon when Sweden hit it with a fatty slap. Hey.
going back to your shirt, salmons, right? I get it.
That was clever. That was actually pretty clever.
Covered.
Yeah.
Of course, though, we're going to head over to interview Avenue. Let's go.
Thanks, James. Right now I'm joined by Shrimpy. Shrimpy, you got another win. Yesterday you played versus CE and you got a map versus Dignitas. Today you got a 2-0. Do you think you have no problems going out of the group stages?
I think going out of group should be fine, but like after the 1-1 versus Dignitas, I think we're aiming for a top 2 spot, and you know it's possible. We didn't expect it going into the tournament, but the results, you know, they might be good enough to be top 2.
That's really good. We talked to you on Friday and the team kind of looked down, you know, like you looked sad. Right now you got so many wins. Do you feel that all of this changed the way how you feel in the team?
I mean, we had a bit of a rough time before we announced the roster swaps and stuff, and the atmosphere hasn't been great, but now we're just here trying to do a last good tournament, you know, so we're really excited to play together and do a good showing. So, I mean, the atmosphere is actually very well, probably the best it has ever been.
Okay, good. So you got one map from Dignitas. Do you think you'll be able to get a similar result from Tempest tomorrow?
It's possible. They look strong versus Dignitas, and you never know. Like, I think it's just depending on the day. Like, if we have a good day and they might have a little bit of a worse day, I think we can take a map for sure.
Okay, I won't delay you any longer. Enjoy your day. Back to you, analysis desk.
Thank you very much. Always good to hear from